Da, nu merge microfonul. Cumva vecinii să-l pornesc. Okay. Test? It's working.
Yeah, it works.
Okay, I think we can start. Hi everybody, my name is Baciu. I'm a project manager at Wayfare, and also I'm taking care of special operations like this one, like visiting the Guinness Brewery or whiskey distillery, so it's a very fun job to do. Okay, it's very nice to be here in Dublin, a city full of history, and I don't know if you knew that we are in the largest football stadium in Europe that is not hosting any football games. So that's very interesting. Wayfare is the largest independent company in Eastern Europe. We are located in Romania, Cluj, Transylvania, Dracula, you know, all that interesting things. We are providing OpenEdge Progress basically services for application partners, but also for the end customers. And today, my colleague, Iulian, basically is a product of our internship programs. And we'll present something very interesting related to a very, let's say, interesting topic with the GDPR. For sure, you received a lot of emails this year, and a lot of changes has to be done in your system or your customer systems. And yeah, that being said, let's leave the speaker to start his session.
Thank you for the introduction. Hi everybody, my name is Iulian Baciu. It's my first time as a presenter at any kind of conference. I'm a little bit nervous, so please be patient with me. Okay, let's get started. In this session, I will present you a tool that will help us export anonymized data from the production database. The objective is to create consistent data for our developers, which can be loaded in their development and testing environments. But first, I would like to present myself to you. I'm a junior software developer at Wayfare, with 1 year of progress experience. That is a lot less than many of you may have, but my passion for programming guided me through 2 commercial projects, one of them being this one. Part of my hobbies is exploring nature, as I love to take a walk through the mountains and do other sports activities. As a person, I can describe myself as being curious and meticulous, traits that will help me do my job. Okay, this slide, it's not GDPR compliant, but get over it. And now, let's get back to the actual subject. Today I will tell you not too much about GDPR, more about the tool and its requirements, and after that, a quick demo to take place. What is GDPR, or General Data Protection Regulation? It's a European Union law that protects sensitive data from being processed. However, I think that by this time you already know what it is. And for sure you can remember that around 25th of May you started to receive emails from different service providers which were informing you that a new updated privacy policy is in place. GDPR was the culprit for all that spamming. And in the next moments, I'll present you the tool. Not that one, but the anonymization tool. The whole purpose of this application is the fully or partially data export of the production database using customized anonymization and pseudonymization rules. The objective, as I already told you, is to create consistent data for our developers which can be loaded in their development and testing environments without exposing private data from clients. This tool allows performant parallel processing of different batches of tables from the database. And as an output, it gives manually written data and description files that have the same formats as those dumped with Progress data administration tools and can be loaded using those tools also. The tool has a framework architecture that can be extended and customized depending on the client's needs. It includes a util package that contains the validation, the error, and the log helper. Home functionalities are to verify the input and to inform the user about the process of the anonymization. The util package also contains a dictionary helper, which uses the provided parser, those being XML and CSV, to read and store data from dictionary files. This feature can be extended plugging parser for different file formats. Besides util package, there are rule classes that provide anonymization algorithms, one rule for each rule type. This set can be also extended by implementing other rule types. The anonymization logic uses all those previously mentioned to accomplish the objective for which this tool has been designed. This tool can run on any machine that have an ABL virtual machine installed, but it has its requirements. You need to set up the prop path to the source folder in the project. You need to configure a connection to the production database, because otherwise it doesn't have anything to anonymize. For the application to know how to process data, you must give it an XML configuration file. It will contain environment configurations, relations, rules, and anonymized field records, but I'll come back to this later. Also, you need to fill out dictionary files. If you want that the data, which will replace the original information, to be randomly picked from a collection of values of the same type. The last thing you need is to add the rand as a startup parameter. As an advantage of this tool is that it doesn't own a database, so it's fully portable. All the information it needs is provided in the configuration XML and is loaded into a dataset. The anonymization process. This is the part where the web breaks down. The anonymization process starts by reading and loading configuration XML into its own dataset, and the logging string is then created. After the dictionary files are loaded, parsed by CSV parser and XML parser, and the values are loaded into time tables. The next step is to validate the configuration file. This is done by checking if every path specified in the environment configuration record is a valid one, by verifying if the rule records are correctly defined, the relation records are validated for the existence of the mentioned tables into the database, and for the existence of those fields that compose the key into the tables. The anonymized fields record are also checked to make sure that the tables, the fields, and the anonymization rules that are specified are valid. Also, a validation of dictionary files is done to see if the mapping of values is valid and the values are of the same type as the original information from the database. After the validation is done, the database is ready to determine its structure and to establish the anonymization order for each table. Okay, starting with the first table in the anonymization hierarchy, record by record, anonymization rules are applied on a table that is mentioned in anonymized field section of the configuration file. To maintain the relation between tables, the initial values of key fields are stored alongside the anonymized values and used afterwards in the process. When the anonymization process of a record is over, it's exported into the corresponding data file for the table. And after the process is entirely done for a table, the tool also exports the description file for the table and steps over to the next one in the anonymization hierarchy. I kept talking about anonymization rules, but I haven't told you what they are or what they do. When an anonymization rule is applied, a set of decisions is followed based on what was written and specified in the role section of the configuration file. To generate different type of anonymized or pseudonymized values that match and resemble the values from the database. I told you that I will come back to tell you what the configuration file is. The configuration file is an XML that has records that define the environment configuration, the database relations between tables, the anonymization rules, and how and when to anonymize a table field. Environment configuration. These records will contain full paths to the logging directory. This will be put to ensure that the logging files are not exported and created into the working directory of the project. The input directory, where the dictionary files will be located if they are requested, and the output directory, where the data and description files will be dumped. Database table relations. In each record of this type, a relation between two tables will be defined using the namings of the parent and child table, prefixed by the database name, and names of the fields that build the key as comma-separated values. If the key is a composed key, the pairs will be separated to a pipeline symbol. Okay. Role records are defining the standards that the anonymization must follow. The anonymization value must follow. This part can be easily extended by defining rule records using rule types that are already implemented in the tool and juggling with the rest of the attributes, or by implementing a new rule class, which can be easily plugged in the application structure. This example defines a rule of type random that will return a value of data type date that will vary between those two range limits. Also, a rule can be defined to return multiple values as in this example. This is also a random value, but this time the values are picked from the postal code Netherlands dictionary file. The picked values are representing what's between the source fields tags and will be mapped to the corresponding table fields. Source field type, this part, indicates how the value from the dictionary will be stored. Value means that the information will be kept as it is. Range means that a value among those limits will be chosen. Database fields anonymization defines the criteria that have to be respected in the anonymization process of a field value. Defines the anonymization order of a database field, and defines other different sets of conditions that are determined and are used to help us to check if a value from another field or table is needed, or to conditionally establish which anonymization rule to be applied depending on the values from other fields. Okay. To prove my point, a record from Sports 2000 was anonymized as an example for you to see how original information from the left resembles the anonymized data from the right. Most visible part is the names, the streets. Part 1 was not anonymized. The state, the city, you can see the email address has been composed, other data type. Okay. And I've also prepared a demo for you to see the tool in action. Until then, there's a short reflection on what is in my mind now. Okay. I will show you the dictionary files. This is the postal code, the Netherlands dictionary file, because I haven't presented it to you in the PowerPoint. These are the values that will be picked by the tool to replace the actual data in the database. Okay. Here it is the configuration XML for Sports 2000. You can see here the environment configuration with all the paths, the relations which are defined between tables, the rules. This one was in the presentation. This one is a rule of type random, which we choose from an enum, which is specified here. Okay. Let me show you the tool. Okay, the anonymize process is over. It's very fast. I also get a message that will tell me where the logging file is written to check if some errors or warnings are in there and why the anonymization process has stopped is the case. Now you can see here is the original information from Sports 2000 employee table. I've exported it for you. And here you can see how the values were anonymized by the tool. Well, the example was on a set of a minimal number of records. We tested it on a production database, I think of 2000 gigabytes, and it ran in 4 hours, something like that. Okay, let me show you also the logging file. Here, if you read it, you can see that every part and every step that the anonymization tool is doing, it's tracked and it's outputted for you to track the process, loading from dictionaries, loading from configuration file, validating rules, relations, anonymization fields, dictionaries, and all the anonymization process. Okay. Now the demo is over, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them to you if I have any. No?
I was wondering about the database description file where you define the dependencies between tables, relations.
Yeah.
What is the reason that you need to have those? Is it because if you change the key field, then you have to change it in the other tables as well?
Yeah, that's the reason. Any other question?
What is the performance of the application? What are you capable of handling?
Yeah, I've already told that. We tested it on a production database of 200 gigabytes, and it ran into 4 hours. And you have seen on 100 records of Sports 2000, it ran in like 1 or 2 seconds.
And was that single-threaded or multi-threaded that you?
It was a single-threaded.
Single-threaded,
Yeah.
200.
Okay, the tool can be started on more sessions for different batches of tables.
Is this a product that you sell separately to others? Or?
Yeah. But for this, I think you may talk with our managers, not with me.
You can come to our booth and we can discuss about it. So basically it was like a project that we already did for one of our customers. So yeah, we can discuss.
Okay. Then if there are no other questions, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I would like you to invite to my colleagues' presentations, which will take place tomorrow. Nicola Berta will present you some code metrics, and on Friday, Valentin will present you a beast. That's all I can say about that. Also, for more information and to play some Guitar Hero, please come to our booth.